Hi, my name's Peter, and I thought that you might like to listen to one of the stories from our book, Ulster Fairytales and Legends. This story is called The Red Hand. Once before the time of St. Patrick, Ulster had no king for more than a year. The chieftains met in the Brechin assembly, but they could not agree on a leader. Their arguments became more bitter and angry. Diarmid, a fierce and fearless warrior, had the support of the eastern clans. Heremon, cunning and determined, had support from the northern clans. The Druids were afraid that one of the chieftains would snatch the leadership without agreement. This would cause years of misery and violence. They suggested approaching the High King Conor Mór at Tara. Conor's decision would be accepted. Each chieftain chose someone to go to Tara. Arion was clever with words. He could tell what people thought by listening carefully to what they said. He held the trust of Heremon. Diarmid sent Cahal Mór, whose mood could change within a heartbeat. Conor Mór entertained them with a week of feasting and games. They had competitions in running, jumping, wrestling, and target practice. Each evening they all drank and ate together while listening to the king's bards and musicians. Conor Mór and his druids watched their guests very carefully and learned a lot about their characters. They agreed that the Ulster men were proud and very capable men. They would only follow someone who could do something extraordinary that they themselves could not. Strength alone will not be enough, said Conor. One of them must find a way to show that his courage and determination are greater. The Druids suggested a great contest in which these qualities would reveal themselves clearly. That evening at the banquet, Conor announced, "The lordship of Ulster will be decided by a great sea race from Rathlin Sound across the Sea of Moyle to the sandy beach at the foot of Glen Sheask. The first chieftain to lay his hand on the beach will be raised as Lord of Ulster. No champions may be used, and those who would be Lord must crew the course with their men, each boat to hold no more than 5 crew." And so, at the Celtic festival of Beltane, the crews gathered on Rathlin Sound waiting for the Druid's signal. There were 9 boats and crews, each hoping to claim lordship. They all knew this coast well. They knew that the short journey across the Sea of Moyle held many dangers. There were fierce riptides and jagged rocks, hungry to rip apart any boats that strayed off course. As the Druid lowered his staff to signal the start, the crews strained on the rowers. The boats leapt across the Sound and out into the dangerous waters. Immediately, the eastward sweeping tides seized them, dragging them towards the towering sea cliffs at Fairhead. The crews pulled on the heavy oars, dipping and straining through the crystal green waters flecked with dancing seahorses. The day was calm, but the tidal rip was unforgiving and scattered the crews. Finally, only Diarmid's and Heremon's boats were left, jostling each other as they raced into the final stage. The black basalt slopes of Crochaneal reared up before them at the head of the glen, marking the end of the race. Despite the efforts of Heremon's crew, Diarmid's boat was in the lead as they rowed through the shallow approach to the beach. Sure that the prize was slipping from his grasp, Heremon remembered Conor's exact words as reported by Heremon. "Lordship will fall to him whose hand first touches the beach." Laying his hand on a rowing block, he took his war axe and with one swift swing cut his own hand from the arm at the wrist. Ignoring the pain, he grabbed the severed hand from the deck and hurled it with all his might towards the beach ahead of Diarmid's boat. Heremon's hand fell on the beach at the feet of the Druid, just as Diarmid's boat crunched onto the shingle. Diarmid jumped out to claim the lordship, but the Druid lifted the bloodied hand and held it up before Diarmid, declaring, This is the hand of Heremon. First to touch the beach, I proclaim him rightful Lord and King of Ulster. Diarmid, his face a kaleidoscope of feelings, bowed slowly. The other crews and chieftains then filed past the druid, who was still holding Heremon's bloodied hand, to salute their king. Ulster accepted Heremon as its leader. His actions is still remembered today. A red hand is the symbol of Ulster, and it's also on the Tyrone GAA crest. Now, as a little activity, why don't you listen to the story again? But this time, close your eyes and imagine that you have been sent as an outside reporter by RTE to provide a 1-minute report of the race for the early evening news. Now, RTE have provided you with a boat, so you'll be able to see up close the start, the race, and more importantly, the finish. Now, when you've got your 1-minute report prepared, why don't you give it to your mum, or read it for your dad, or phone up your granny or your aunt and tell them over the phone about the great sea race and the red hand and how Ulster got its king. But remember, you've only got 1 minute. You can have less than a minute, but no more. So listen to the story again, close your eyes and imagine that you were there. And then put your report in for the RTE Early Evening News as the reporter on Rathlin Sound for the Great Sea Race. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye.